electrical chip that was finalized about 2 years ago. He's heading an independent research and development lab in Canada, and he's also opening a new lab in Arizona shortly. He's been researching electromedical technologies, biotech, electrobiotechnology, and also psychoacoustics for several years. He's got an article on page 7 of the current issue of Extraordinary Science magazine that should expand on some of the points he'll be talking about today. And he's got a thing that he's working on called a multiscope that can put a person into euphoria with a combination of acoustic and skin sense. It's almost a virtual reality product. So here's Mark Benza for this second speaker of our afternoon.
Oh, thank you very much. This is working? Yep. Thank you very much, Michael. Well, I have some prepared documents over here, which is the scientific paper which I wrote for the magazine, which is called Clinical Diagnostics. So what I want to do first is to read that paper and then to have some kind of free discussion on a subject. More than 2 decades of independent research into optically sensitive biological devices has resulted in the development of the optically powered and programmed biological integrated optical circuit, which I call BIAC. A unique photosynthetic process in combination with the latest advances in fiber optic technology have made this invention possible. The merging of contemporary fiber optic systems with bioswitching sensors has produced a unique photobioelectronic device with an extremely high density storage capability. The device requires no power for its operation. An input optical beam is conditioned on a linear basis as it passes through a biological polarizing material within the device. The BIAC was developed for the primary purpose of exploiting the electric and photoelectric properties of complex enzymatic compounds that lie at the heart of biotechnology. The prototype of BIAC was manufactured from the enzymatic photosensitive substances, providing for the existence of 6th-generation computers. The device presented in this paper exploits the sensory and computing power of the living cell, utilizing photosensitive protein as the active BIAC control system. BIAC is a complex bioelectric circuit consisting of gelatinous enzymatic material and crystalline reflectors capable of controlling the intensity, direction in XYZ, transmission, attenuation, and refractiveness of the incoming and outgoing light beams. Full integration capability of BIAC with the surrounding biological systems, i.e. living cells, combined with its almost microscopic architecture, provides for its utilization in even the most complicated implant of the device into the body, including the human brain. Potential medical applications of BIAC technology are immense, particularly when this technology is utilized for the above-mentioned implant purposes. Then we have a problem. However, medical, psychological, sociological, and other implications to humans as a result of such implant will be immeasurable. Investigation into phytochrome and the fiber optic properties of botanical and biological substances were initiated in the early 1970s by myself during the development of electronic personal radiation monitors utilized in industrial radiography. It was stipulated at the time that botanical or biological sensors may be utilized for this particular application instead of the standard Geiger-Miller counter, which most of you are familiar with. Experiments with tropical plant seeds and seedlings yielded the most notable results. It was observed that light-induced inhibition in the growth of mesocotyl and the concomitant promotion of the growth or the coleoptile were among the most intensely studied of the low fluency responses mediated by phytochrome. Furthermore, it was also found that the mesocotyl grows rapidly in the dark but is progressively inhibited by the increasing amount of light it encounters as it grows toward the growth media surface. The coleoptile acts in much the opposite way. Not surprisingly, the research data has also shown that both organs had pronounced responses not only to minute amounts of light, but also to its wavelength. Now we're going to be talking about special quality of the light beam required to achieve the results. The spectral quality of the coherent light beam guided through a plant or biological tissue was found to be the most important. For example, a change in the red component of the light entering a given cell matrix may yield a change in the ratio between the red and far red wavelengths in the light that in turn can change the state of the phytochrome in the cell. The result is a modulation in the growth of the cell. Spectral quality of the cell can be altered by the level of pigmentation in the cell, such as anthocyanin, beta-cyanin, carotenoids, chlorophyll, etc. A concentration of such pigments acts as a spectral filter. Thus, measuring a spectrum of light conducted through a living tissue would show the light absorption or transmission. Understanding the complex physiology mediated by pigments such as phytochrome has resulted in the simplest form of the first BIOC, and also in the awareness that the photo-optical properties of plants or biological cells can influence the birth of completely new technology. Now we're going to talk about the design itself. The optical or photon excitation of the BIOC nucleus assures an extraordinary level of programming control over the DNA molecules, resulting in an ultimately genetic and invariably natural biocomputer. BIOC is also capable of communicating with other BIOCs at a mitogenetic cell communication level, and is therefore able to communicate its biological information to other BIOCs without a pre-programmed beam information path, i.e., the BIOC is able to think in its own, still primitive, form. BIOC's three-dimensional architecture differs greatly from its flat, silicon-based competitor. BIOC operates at a molecular level, and its physical dimensions are extremely small in comparison with its silicon counterpart. It is possible to manufacture BIOC where its physical size will not exceed the size of the human fertilized egg. Consequently, its power requirement will also be incredibly small. Depending on the crystalline mask layout, which forms one of the substrates of the optical sandwich, it is possible for various functions of data to be stored, altered, accessed, and retrieved by the coherent optical beam and laser beam included. Now we're going to talk about the data carrying beam chromacity. An important aspect of the BIOC is that it is uniquely sensitive to the chromacity and intensity of the incoming data carrying beam. It is therefore possible to separately access specific section on the mask layout at different layers simultaneously. In effect, the chromacity of the light determines the functions to be addressed as well as the data which may be accessed. Macros on the mask program substrates may include data acquisition logic, logic gate arrays, VLSI, cells, RAM sections, ROM sections, discrete linear cells, etc. On each wavelength of the light beam entering the BIOC, many thousands of different activities may be occurring at the same time. Now, frequency response, which is very important from the medical point of view. A different geometrical configuration of the base substrate within the BIOC will tailor the BIOC's frequency response, and therefore infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, and visible light will result in various modes of operation. So all of these qualities of this kind of device, what we are talking about here, biochip, are immense. So when we looking at the potential and replacement for a silicon technology, there are a few applications which I have mentioned in my paper over here. There are virtually unlimited applications of BIOC. A few examples where current technology may be directly replaced with one BIOC is as follows. Video imaging. Video image recognition is currently achieved by digitizing a video signal, storing the image in RAM array, using a processor to act upon data in the RAM following user-defined algorithms, and finally converting RAM area data into an analog signal. However, the BIOC will perform all of these functions within itself, requiring minimum support logic on a real-time basis. A BIOC camera may be designed requiring no film, videotape, etc. The images will be captured directly from the polarizing lens and stored in the BIOC sensors to be later reproduced into a film developed by Benza Corporation, which I have with me that I can demonstrate. The image may also be sent to a monitor at the user's convenience and printed onto paper, magnetic tape, or any other material. Applications in data storage. The BIOC will replace non-volatile mass data storage in order of terabytes. Current optical storage devices, RAM arrays, and hard and floppy disk drives, hence eliminating most of the mechanical components and requirement of a power supply, which is the most costly operation. Telecommunications. The BIOC will find many applications within the telecommunications industry. For example, one single BIOC may replace the time slot assigner logic and complete circuitry. As more telecommunication networks are being replaced with fiber optical cables, the BIOC is capable of being directly spliced into existing lines. Information sharing and exchange. 2 or more BIOCs may be placed in a serial configuration for increased storage capacity as well as increased processing capabilities. The BIOC may also, however, be utilized in a parallel configuration for greater true output. In fact, they may share information from one to another by merely being placed in an array, forming a high-density sandwich and top, end, or beside one another in kind of Rubik cube arrangement. Biotechnology applications. Industrial process monitoring of enzyme manufacturing, beverage manufacturing, quality control in food processing, waste management, fermentation reactor monitoring and control, etc., may be accomplished by the custom designed BIOCs for that particular purpose. Environment. Acid rain problems in Canada and in the US and elsewhere in the world is well recognized environmental problem. Routine monitoring of its effects on the biological systems will eventually be delegated to BIOCs. Effluent monitoring of the streams, pesticides monitoring, radioactivity level monitoring, chlorinated hydrocarbon monitoring and control, explosive compounds detection, chemical warfare warning detectors, narcotic production monitoring, farms and labs, and more. Now, the most important, of course, application will be in medicine. Perhaps the most important application of BIOC will be the newly emerging fields of electromedicine, bioelectronics, and bioelectrics. The total regeneration of spinal cords, limbs, and organs may be achieved with the aid of BIOC. The BIOC may be able to detect the early formation of ulcers and other problems. Furthermore, feedback control of newly implanted artificial organs, screening of narcotics, drug therapy monitoring, etc. will also be accomplished with the BIOCs. Photosensitive BIOC will be connected directly to the visual regions of the brain, hence giving blind individuals the sense of vision. I have only some concluding remarks over here, and then we can get into more liberal discussion. It is important to note that so-called intelligent biological photosensitive substances will, in the near future, completely replace the existing hardware and software presently crowding the desk of computer literates worldwide. It is not unreasonable to claim that an ingenious application of advanced optical physics, specifically fiber optics, in combination with the latest advances in bioelectronics, must result in biological approximation of the intelligent human brain. The clues and solutions for such dramatic and evolutionary milestones is and has been within the reach of the humanity for millennia in the fauna and flora that surround us. So this is the end of the paper. I have only 50 copies of this paper right here, so it will be here. I'm going to leave it on the desk. And it's also being published in the Clinical Diagnostics. So basically, what is biochip? As I have mentioned in this paper over here, it is a biological substance. I have a sample of the device over here, which is presently in the tube. It is a gelatinous substance. It is in more liquefied form right now for better, so the person can see it much better. It's actually a fluid, or eventually when this works, it is a gelatinous material. This particular tube, which is a blank or does not have it's not programmed, and this one can replace very easily 105 megabyte hard drive. This one over here. So basically, what we are looking about when we're looking at future computers over here, that with the combination of the biochip with fiber optics, which are manufactured actually for very fine strands, like a silicon. You can hardly see it over here, but you can look at it on the desk later on. It is so fine, it's actually thinner than human hair. You can program this biochip then optically. You can read in XYZ axis, therefore the biochip is holographic, same like a human mind. It does not read, or is not programmed in a binary code like a silicon chip. This is programmed and will be programmed in plus, 0, or neutral, and minus by 3 different programs. If implanted in a human being, it can be directly spliced, so to speak, into optical nerve. So a person can actually see the information that is read or written optically on the gelatinous material. If we have developed, or we are proceeding right now with the development of fully programmed chip right now, or biochip, that can carry the particular frequency information. I'm sure some of you are familiar with so-called Rife frequencies. Raymond Rife, some of you heard about him. What Rife says, and what he have other researchers like Alexander Gurevich, and also then other researchers like Lachowski have found out, is that each cell in a human body, it's got its own particular resonant frequency. If the cell is diseased, its frequency changes. If we have a imprint of the information on the biochip, and if the biochip is taken like a pill internally, it can carry the particular healthy frequency or frequencies that overrides non-healthy frequencies in a human being. Now this is called biocybernetic harmonization of cells, which right now is being done in Switzerland, is being done in Russia, is being done in Europe. And so this kind of device then acts as a transmitter. When this device acts as a transmitter, it can work its way through the digestive system, or it can be directly introduced into a bloodstream. Carrying this information within your body, it can be also monitored externally by using special kind of paper which I have developed, or film, which is developed for this purpose, which is made from mineral. There's no wood pulp in this material. Then you can wear it like a shirt on your body. With biochip inside in your body, material being sensitive, this one I can plug to 110 volts. If you turn the lights down a little bit, I'll show you what it does. So when this one is plugged to 110 volts, it lights up just like this. Right? We can see it. So this material is electroconductive. If we make a very fine web of this material, what you see over here, the material having these special properties of being electroconductive in a sense that it can transmit the light, or it can also receive the light. Therefore, if you're going to take or swallow the biochip as a transmitter, it can go through our digestive tract and sense these particular frequencies throughout the body, whereas the sensors are going to be outside our body. It is going to be reversed X-ray machine, basically. But we are not monitoring if our bones are broken or not. What we are monitoring right now is if our cells in our body are healthy or not. Because the healthy cell is giving different frequencies. On this film, then, we will notice, like on the X-ray machine, which organ or which cell is out of the resonance. That's where the difference is. The problem what we have from the ethical point of view is misuse of these kind of devices, especially when talking about terrorists or who knows what. Reason being, this material having a storage capacity or capabilities, it can control the mind. It can control the mind in alpha, beta, delta, and theta region. That's where the dangers come. Advantages will be that we can treat a disease like Parkinson's disease, neurological disorders, and so on. But we will have a very hard time to control somebody who wants to control the human mind totally. So that's where the problem, that's dangerous. So we have lots of pros and we have lots of cons, and we are battling right now the ethical question rather than solving the technological problems. How are we going to approach this problem? How can we control, or how can we build in the system that can prevent the misuse of these kind of devices? The applications, as you can see over here, are phenomenal. The devices which I have already developed and which you can see on the page 7 of the current magazine, there is an article which I wrote about cyclotron Delphi, which is right over here. Now, cyclotron Delphi is non-invasive type of instrument. It can access the acupuncture meridians through the acupuncture points in your earlobe, 200 of them. It can access the diseased organs also by variation of frequency which are programmed into the EEPROM, which is in the onboard of the machine. We like to eliminate this mechanical version of the device. That's why I like to concentrate all my work mainly on the biological devices. This one, this cyclotron Delphi, takes 9-volt battery to operate. It can be carried wherever you want. You have an MD in your box. So basically you can treat about 170 known diseases with this device. It's electronic pill, that's what it is. It can frequency ranges from 0.16 of a hertz to 2,100 hertz. So it's got very wide range for various applications. The biochip will replace these kind of devices. We are far away from the time where devices such as demonstrated over here were in use. Right now, we are getting into biokybernetics. Biokybernetics is a very advanced science right now, and lots of researchers are working on it, unfortunately in complete secrecy right now. And the reason for that is being that just nobody knows what can happen if these biochips or these kind of devices begin to be widespread. Right now we've been having enough problems with the biological weapons not too long ago and what they can do. Now to control the human mind biologically or through the transmittance of particular waveform imprints can achieve many good things, but also many evil things. Depends who's going to use it. And obviously we are not sure if we're going to live in the free society or Orwellian type of society. It always depends on the people who are in charge. And because there is no such a thing like a world government yet, and there is no one in control of so-called individual countries, therefore we cannot guarantee how the device will be misused. But as far as I can see, the beneficial uses of this device outweigh the problems which somehow can be controlled. So that's all what I have to say about this device. I know Steve said, well, everybody's taking lots of time. I took only 30 minutes. But I'm sure that you guys have lots of questions to ask. And rather than me yakking about this device, you can ask any question you wish and I try to answer it. Go ahead.
How long does the material stay alive? Forever?
The material is sealed in the vacuum glass. This is not an ordinary glass. The reason being because we are dealing with mitogenetic radiation or UV radiation, which is discovered by Gurevich in 1923, and Lakovsky before then stipulated it's possible. Now it is sealed, and it can, as long as it is sealed, it can definitely outlive the human body. So it can be put in special kind of material, non-porosive material. So once it's implanted in the human body, it can act as a prevention rather than cure, and total monitoring. So if you have a shirt, some sort of shirt made out of this material, it can monitor your health constantly. It can dump the information from biochip directly into your EEPROM that you're wearing on your belt. So for self-analysis. So if there's something just about to go wrong with your body, the beeper will come on and tell you, hey, you have a high temperature. So this is for this reason, that's why it's so valuable, that is implantable. And because of its microscopic architecture, then of course we will, as you will hear from another speaker who will follow over here, the cloning it's quite possible with these kind of devices as well. So it is perfectly safe to implant, and it will definitely outlive the human body because it's sealed. Sure. Pardon me? Yes, it is. It is quite possible, yes. Yes, it is quite possible to program it while it is in your body or alter the program. But then again, that's an unethical way to access the bodies, because you can be programmed unwillingly.
And if you reprogram?
In your body? Well, that's what I say, you can reprogram it in your body.
Well, I didn't know if it was unprogrammed when it was put in, or you know what I mean?
Well, these are the problems what we are having. If you are suffering from disease already, it was found that particular wavelengths in say 600 nanometers to 740 nanometers can treat cancer, right? These are called right frequencies. He defined them very precisely to the last decimal point, and I think he's got about 5 or 6 decimal points behind it. But these are not the real frequencies. We are dealing with mitogenic radiation. Mitogenic radiation is the intercellular communication between two cells, between the healthy cell and between the diseased cell. Two things can happen. Either the diseased cell can influence can infect the healthy cell, or vice versa. If you program the biochip that it can actually become to be a healthy cell, it can cure the disease cells. For the treatment of cancer, it is perfect kind of mechanism. But it can program outside.
Have you actually built, for example, that 100 megabyte?
This is it. That's it.
But have you actually run it in a computer and tested it?
Oh yeah, well, what you have to do is you cannot visualize a computer in the real sense of a computer. Hard drive is just all mechanical components and floppy disk drives and so on. This one can be programmed with 3 fiber strands. It can store enough information right now, and when you calculate the capacity what it can store, yes, it can store 105 megabytes. This one over here. So basically you can plug this one right here. Depends what kind of polarizing filter you're going to be using. So you can have a red hard drive, you can have a blue hard drive, you can have yellow hard drive, or pink hard drive, as long as there is enough gap in the frequency window so they are not overriding like radio stations on your dial. As long as there is enough gap between them so you don't have so-called crosstalk between the color separation or chromaticity separators. Sure.
Mark, how far away are we from actually implantation time-wise? I think this becomes commonly used, and if it does become so, you touched on it briefly, but don't you think there will be a tremendous amount of government?
I'm already taking flag for it from the Defense Department. I'm already taking flag for it, but you just go to. I don't know how we go about it. You know, it is possible to implant right now for monitoring. For example, if you have an elderly person who is suffering from incurable diseases, right now, all what the person is going to, as everybody's seen, is going to little beeper. You know, you see that advertised on TV on the commercials, you know. I'm dead, or I'm dead. So you push the button, by the time I arrive, you are dead. Right? So what this one will do is, this one will automatically control your health and monitor any kind of monitor your state constantly, 24 hours a day. So if you are within the room, in your living room, then of course this one you will have on the wall, like a receiver, right? And it will be hooked up to the transmitter directly to the hospital or to a healthcare center or whatever. In another, when while you're traveling, then this one can be hooked up to a small transmitter right here, to shortwave transmitter and so on, so you can alert the medical organization somewhere that can pick you up. But you don't have to push any button like you will have to with these devices which are being marketed right now. Sure.
If it's taken orally, how long will it stay?
48 hours to get it out of your body, which take about 64 hours for aspirin to get out of your body. Sure.
What's the potential as a learning tool, like instead of...
Fantastic. It's possible, we've been talking with my colleagues about it, it's possible to program visually to whole Encyclopedia Britannica directly into the chip, and you can access through your optical nerve, and you can actually read it through your mind. So that's what a potential, that's enhancement of the learning ability, which we already have a multi-scope to do right now, device, which we are marketing right now. But this kind of device will actually, I don't know, like if you have an extra memory, right, so that you can access through your neural system and read the information. Remember, this is like a microfilm. As long as the information already imprinted on this device, it's so small that it can be read through a brain, especially the broadcast part of the brain, that you can access this one through your neural system. Then the fibers, as you can see them shiny over here, they're smaller than a hair. That's all what you need to splice it directly into your neural system. So you can actually have a library somewhere behind your ear and implant it directly. Sure. Okay.
I
do I understand you correctly that one fiber will hold 105 megabytes?
Not fiber. A gelatinous material like this one over here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Fiber is only for write, read, or scan. This is the fiber that is hooked up directly into the chip.
Any evidence of it retaining or reversing aging?
Well, we didn't. We play with God. So yes, it can be possible. I was manufacturing biocosmetics for 12 years, and we got involved in. I'm sure that lots of people you heard about aloe vera products. We started aloe vera in 1972 in Phoenix, Arizona. And I brought it originally from Africa, where I spent 3.5 years with Zulu, Xhosa, Tswana, and Solo tribes. So we brought it over here to Phoenix, Arizona in 73, and we set up 103 hydroponic greenhouses in Glendale, just outside of Phoenix. So yes, it is possible to reverse the aging, but instead of biochemicals, you can use biochip. What is aging? It's oxidation of cells, basically. How can you deoxidize the cell? I think this is more for the cellular microbiologist question than, but we are working very close with these kind of experts that we can reverse the oscillation of the embryo of the cell. Therefore, the collapse of the cell can be prevented. Sure.
If you had this device implanted and the person should get around high voltage electricity or
it won't affect it. No, no. This won't work. No, no, no. It can't. Reason being, it is also pH controlled device. Same like you have a glass envelope for a pH control. This one is so-called physical sensor. So even if you are exposed to microwaves, it won't alter it. So it is not like a pacemaker that it can be stopped. We took this question very seriously and take precautions so this one won't happen. This is photosensitive device. So as long as it is in your body, right, it is not affected by outside. Well, it can be programmed by laser systems or this kind of particular waveform and wave shapes. So I don't think there's going to be any problem. But then again, we have not implanted any of this yet. Obviously, there may be some problems down the road, but nothing that we cannot solve. Sure.
Does it, in the architecture of it, does it actually include a microprocessor?
Yes, yes.
And what is the power supply package with it originally then? Or does it use electrolytes in the body or something?
Electrolytes, that's what you require, and the heat, the body heat.
And then it just talks in and out on the light.
Yes, same like the human cell. You can take a human heart out of the body, and it's going beating right on your operation table besides the body, without any power supply. Go on.
It's optical in nature, and yet the biochemistry of the brain and the nerve fibers and whatnot are able to go in and be processed.
Yes, but that's what I'm talking about. Yes, the nerves are not thinner, like you can see on these very fine fibers, which is like silk. So you can sply them in your system right now, especially in the optical system.
What I'm trying to say is nerves are more biochemical in nature as opposed to being photosensitive in nature.
Well, because this is made from mineral, it is not affected by the body chemistry. That's the beauty of it.
No, but I'm saying how the biochip functions is through the light. Light is the property that functions.
Yes.
And the nerves in the body function through biochemistry. Is that not right?
Yes. The plant.
How do you interface the light to the biochemistry?
The light is converted to frequency always, before it goes to your brain. The light does not go to your brain. The signal from your retina, which is converted into an electrical impulse, goes to your brain. And the vision is formulated in your brain from the electrical impulses, not from the optical impulses.
Well, what is the interface between the optical impulses and the electrical impulses?
The material itself.
The material itself?
Yes.
What's the news about what the potential applications of the product are and its actual demonstrable to program the chip.
Yes.
If it's got a microprocessor, that's fine. The main question I have as a biologist is, what and how have you demonstrated that the information that is released from the chip is in fact read by a biological system, or in fact can influence the biological system? I mean, is it all theory, or what have you done?
No. All what you use is fiber optic. If you have frequencies which you used were in the order of 670 nanometers. When you program this chip at 670 nanometers, you want to retrieve the same frequency or same color that correspond to 607 nanometers and retrieve that out. We left that for 24 hours in the incubator. Then we hooked up a spectrophotometer into it and see if that frequency is still there we can read. We were able to read the same frequency what we programmed directly into the chip.
Yeah, but that doesn't answer the question. I'm not asking you whether you can get the frequency information from the chip. I'm asking you if that signal that's emitted has any biological effect at all.
If the signal has biological effect. Yes.
That what's coming off the chip is in fact going to the chip.
Well, this is what I was talking about before. You see, right, well, right now, yeah, well, here's the proof. We have a device over here which is called cyclotron Delphi, which is producing wavelength and frequencies of particular shape, which are directly, if you attach the electrode at your acupuncture point, for example, in your earlobe, this machine can get you drunk in 3 seconds. What we want to say is, this one can be accomplished with the biochip. Of course it can be accomplished with the biochip, because you can splice this biochip and the fibers directly into acupuncture points.
So the chip is in the cyclotron Delphi?
No, it's an EEPROM. In the EEPROM or programmable microprocessor is in the cyclotron Delphi now. What we are saying, like if you take the whole cyclotron Delphi and convert it into biochip and implant it in a human body, then you will have the same effect.
It's a big if. It's a big if.
Why?
Than what you demonstrated. This is what all it can do. It's the potential of the device, right?
It is the potential, because what we have done is, can we store this information in the biochip? We have done that. Can we store that information, can we store the particular waveform in? Yes, we can. Can we retrieve that particular waveform? Yes, we can. Can we prove it? Yes, because we can see it on oscilloscope that we have stored the information in on particular waveform. That's precisely what this machine is doing right now in a book. What we want to do is to do it internally rather than externally, exciting the acupuncture point, the meridians. Well, I love animals. I guess, I personally, I wouldn't do that. But I'm sure other people, other researchers will, once this chip is made available to them. But I personally won't do that to animals.
Yes, you showed us that chip which you were driving in 60 cycles and seemed to be emitting a greenish glow. You changed the frequency of the driver. Does that change the frequency of the light output? And conversely, if we illuminate the device with the frequency of light, we get potential development across it.
Are you talking about the cyclotron?
No, that device here just showed us the previous
Or the monitor, yeah. But what it can monitor, that you can monitor. Oh yeah, that one. Yeah. Well, what I have showed you with this one, that it can transmit the frequencies. The reason why I show you that it can produce light is just so you can visually see that it is a transmitter producing frequency at 60 hertz.
Is there a relationship between the driving signal, the 60 cycle, and the frequency of the light output?
There is a relation, yes.
Okay, so if we change the driver, we get a different.
Yes, you will.
Conversely, if we eliminate it, we get a different low frequency.
That's correct.
So you're claiming that if we were to have this material in our body, it's to be illuminated with light, it would produce a low frequency.
You don't have to eliminate. Way this one works, every time we change the frequency, this is running at 60 hertz right now. If you change the frequency to 50 hertz, the color won't be green, it will be yellow. That's it. It works in reverse. So now what I'm saying is if you program a chip reversely, that we can program the colors in it. All what I want to show you in the reverse application of this one is, if I change the frequency to 110 Hertz, the color is going to be white. So what we are changing, every time we change the frequency, the color is changing. So if you want to manufacture light pictures out of it, and you put on a ceiling, instead of changing the paint on the ceiling, then you're going to just change the frequency of a frequency selector switch on the wall. That's all.
Is this akin in some manner to digital color therapy?
Chromotherapy, yeah, that's color therapy. Yes, it will be. It can be very, very well used for that particular purpose. Because you can easily change the color. You don't need any different color of the light bulbs. All what you really need is the selector, frequency selector switch. It is a cold light. Intensity can vary, and it's manufactured from the mineral paper, which the technology, by the way, we have sold to the European company just last week.
Would you review some of the, when the chip is only used as a monitor, only looking around and sending out data, as opposed to trying to change the physiology of the cell? Would you review some of the uses as a monitor only? No.
No, as a monitor, as a transmitter. Transmitter, you can program those frequencies what Ralph was talking about directly into the chip. And monitor, you can use it as both, as a transmitter and as a monitor. A monitor if you spread over this particular material.
Could you use the chip to download a lot of information into your permanent memory? For example, a course in differential equations or something like that.
Oh, that's what I mentioned in the paper. You can do that. Yeah. If you use a VLSI cell, so a very, very large integration system, very large system integration. Sure.
That little chip in the little glass jar is like a silicon integrated circuit of some kind?
No, it is more like a liquid crystal than integrated circuit. If you visualize, you actually see the simple version of it if you look on a Polaroid film. What is Polaroid film? You have a multi-layer that can sense different photons, different colors, and arrange that in particular order, so when you look vertically on the film, you can see the complete picture. But if you peel off different layer of the Polaroid film, you won't see the whole picture. You will see only photons stored permanently on the film. Why can we do that biologically? Go ahead.
Does the biochip work on the principle of radionics, like the Hieronymus?
No, nothing to do with radionics.
Mark, I don't know if this was asked before, but is it ever possible, would it be possible to remove the implant?
Oh yeah, sure.
So it is
Surgically, no problem.
assimilated into the bloodstream?
Yes.
In
Yes.
indefinite position?
Yes. Mel. Pardon me?
How small can the implant be?
In the size of a human fertilized egg. That's small. In micro.
Do you think there's any connection between this and the sometimes reports of people claiming to have an implant of something put up the nostril in proximity to the optic nerve?
Well, that's it can be done. We've been asked to develop a product for the aromatherapy. Now, this one can be possible, that it affects the brain directly, and that's the shortest possible distance, as people know, is going through the nostril. And it can be also the most dangerous way to do that. Mel, go ahead.
Biofiber that you were mentioning, you spliced on the optic nerve. How is your conception of this? Is it going to be like an eidetic imagery? How are you going to interface it with the brain neurology so that the individual doesn't always see this information as interrupting his focus or his full vision? Is there some way that the person has to be trained? Of course, there's a way to do it. You know, it seems like if you're directly putting it there, it's always going to be there, and it's always going to be something that you have to train yourself not to see, perhaps, because it's always there.
Now, if you understand, acoustically. You can train you can activate a chip acoustically from outside through your, you can, like, for example, you can right now, with devices which we have developed, we have about four or five of them, that you can program your brain to accept only particular waveform, like in alpha range or beta. I'm sure some of you people heard about a device developed by Bob Beck, which is called BT5, and it's available right here in the room for sale. Now you can do that with biochip, but you can program the biochip different ways. You can do it optically, you can do it through laser, or you can do it well, not acoustically, but through the frequency generators that you can put directly on the area where the implant is. So you can, we have done that. We have done that by having using different kind of transmitters where you can imprint this frequency directly into the chip through the RF resonance rather than do it through the through the optical sensor, so through the fiber optics. So it is possible. Yeah, you can do that, yeah. Sure. Oh, yeah, my time is up. Sorry. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, we'll start back here at 3 o'clock. And remember, there is a museum tour going at 3 o'clock as well.